it's no secret that I'm a pretty big Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss fan. I mean,
what the hell? Oh my God.
Clearly. But with being such a big fan of the show, I am more than open to criticism and people saying things about it. I am more than willing to be open to stuff like that. And normally I am. There's a few things that if people criticize, I get kind of defensive on. But then again, criticism and hate are two different things. But never in my life have I been so open to criticism than I have with these two shows. If you guys have for some reason been living under a rock for the past year, then you may not have heard of this little tiny show called Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel, created by Vivian Madrano. It is a pretty big show, given that it's got a pretty devoted fandom behind it, and with such a devoted fandom comes a lot of, let's just say, certain fans and a lot of praise. Now again, I am a pretty big fan of this show, as I'm sure you guys can tell. I absolutely love the show. But I don't think I've ever been so willing to criticize something in my entire life. Even shows that I grew up with, I was open to criticism, but certain people would say certain things about the show that would just make it seem like they were hating on it, or they just didn't like it and they needed to keep their opinions to themselves. But with the amount of critiques I've seen about this show, and now that I'm 23 years old and have a much bigger view on the world from a critical lens because I also make YouTube videos now, I am more than willing to accept people's, let's just say, very valid criticisms about these shows. Almost every single criticism I have heard about this show is valid in one way, shape, or form. There has never been something that I have been more okay with criticizing than Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. Now, I'm fully aware that making this video, just the title of this video, is already gonna send a bunch of Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss stans into a frenzy, and they're gonna be subredditing me, they're gonna be reporting me, they're gonna be sending death threats to my location, they're gonna be threatening my family and everything. And normally I would be scared of that, but because my will to live is already hanging on by a fucking thread, I'm gonna talk about what I want to talk about. Now, before I get into this, I need to reiterate this fact. I do not hate Hazbin Hotel. I do not hate Helluva Boss. I don't even hate Vivian Madrano herself. I have met her. She is a very nice woman. She's even giving me some pointers on voice acting. As a voice actor, I'm more than open to pointers. I need people to tell me what I can do better, what I can do different. I am more than open to accept stuff like that. However, where I'm going to be nitpicking today is my little critiques and little problems that I find with this show. Again, I am open to criticism with this show, and there has never been anything that I've criticized and loved harder than Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. Also, yes, I am very much aware of what the title says. I know it says love-hate relationship, but I couldn't find any other word to follow the word love. What the hell was I going to title this video? My love-critical relationship? No. Therefore, I am titling the video love-hate relationship because it's the only thing that works with the algorithm. So let's get started with a few things that I very much enjoy about this show. I absolutely love the art style. I love the characters. The music is honestly not bad. Even as someone who doesn't like musicals, I don't mind the music in both Hazbin and Helluva Boss. There's a couple bad apples, sure, but when you buy an album from an artist, you don't like every song, do you? I'm not gonna be one to criticize anything like that because one, you're bound to have one bad apple occasionally. And that's not just with the songs, that's literally with the episodes themselves. It is canonically revered in the Hazbin and Helluva fandom that Unhappy Campers is the single worst episode of Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. I very much enjoy some of the stories of the show. I love the conflicts of the characters. The action scenes are so well done. The voice acting as a voice actor is amazing. They have some big stars and some very talented people behind these projects that have poured their heart and souls into their character, and I personally love it. I love Keith David. I love Alex Brightman. I love Blake Roman. All these voice actors have done amazing for this project. This isn't just some little side project on YouTube anymore that's getting a couple million views. This is kind of a global phenomenon at this point, but it's more so known over here in like the Americas. I think, I don't know, I haven't visited another country in a long time, so don't fact check me on that. However, where this show seems to lack, despite me literally praising it a couple minutes ago, is with storytelling. There is way too much going on in this show for this little amount of episodes. I understand that the show just started and we are going to get more into future stories, future conflicts, character backstories, and everything like that. But for the longest time, they have been setting up so many storylines, so many characters, so many backstories that have yet to even be looked at, touched upon, or answered. One of the biggest critiques I've seen about a character in this show is Millie. She's Moxie's wife, and that's basically all we know about her. We know almost nothing about this woman, despite literally being one of the main characters. Almost every single episode, I see someone complaining that Millie needs her own story, and I understand it is probably going to happen in the near future, but when you have this many episodes about this many characters, and even to the point where certain side characters that we've literally only seen for one episode, when we know more about side characters than a main character, that's a little bit of a problem. I know more about Mammon, Stryker, Glitz and Glam. I know more about Stella, a character who has only been seen in literally like 3 or 4 episodes and has the least amount of dialogue, I think, in the entire show. And I somehow know more about her than I do with Millie. I think one of the main problems is that her character is not flushed out one bit. She is literally only seen as Moxie's wife, and that's it. The only inkling we have ever gotten to any of her backstory is that her family is from the Wrathring, and their country family, and she dated a guy that Moxie also dated. So instead of getting a story about what happened with Millie and why Chaz made Millie so upset, the entire episode focuses on Moxie. Why? I don't know, because the episode starts off with Millie being mad over the ex, and then all of a sudden finding out that Moxie and her dated the same guy, whereas we could have gotten an entire backstory as to why Millie was so resentful towards this guy. The entire episode focuses on Moxie. And yes, I somehow know more about Chaz than I do about Millie. Chaz is dead. We're never seeing that motherfucker again, at least I don't think. This is just my game theory, film theory. Don't come at me for that. Another main problem I have with this show is that there is way too many things going on in way too many episodes. They set up so much story for a certain character or a certain group or a certain whatever. They set up one thing in one episode, resolve that by the end of the episode, but by the time that conflict is resolved, 2 more have popped up, and by the time that conflict popped up, we still have conflicts from the first season that have yet to even be addressed. For example, what the hell happened between Blitz and Verosika? We have 2 episodes dedicated to Blitz and Verosika's relationship, which we know almost nothing about. They have kept us in the shadows about this conflict we know almost nothing about. It is a main character who has done something horrible to a lot of the people in his past, including Verosika, and in the 2 episodes where we see her, we get almost nothing about what their relationship was like. We don't get any background. All we get is Blitz did something to Verosika. What that something is, we still don't know. Verosika was first introduced in season 1 in the literal 3rd episode, where it's set up that him and Verosika had a relationship where, let's just say it ended on bad terms, and we don't get any background as to what happened. So we think to ourselves, oh, okay, well maybe they'll explain what happened between them in a future episode. It is literally not until 14 episodes later that we finally get a little bit more of the puzzle that we have yet to solve with Verosika and Blitz, and even then, the question of what happened is still not answered. It is very vague, with Verosika saying stuff like,
"How do you think I felt when the fun guy I was dating decided to just bail on me because I made the shitty mistake of saying I love... The worst part is you still make me feel like a bad person for being angry at you now."
Which, yes, I understand you can leave stuff up to the imagination, you can let people make their own interpretations about what happened, but when you have such a deep conflict and a character that is so hurt over something very specific that another character must have done, we kind of want, answers on what exactly happened. But we get almost none of that. All we get is Verosika saying, "When I expressed my feelings to you." What does that mean? Did she want to marry him? Did she want to form an official relationship? Did she want to take something one step further? There's a lot of questions that are just not answered, which is one of the main issues with this show, is that all these episodes set up so many questions that never get answered. Because by the time the Verosika and Blitzo story gets a little bit more traction, we have issues with Moxie's family. We have issues with Millie. We have issues with Luna and Tex. We have issues with other characters like Fizzaroli and Osmodius. Some of those questions have yet to be answered. And all these episodes later, we still don't get any backstory. It almost reminds me of, not in a bad way, but it reminds me of the Dahmer series, where instead of telling the story in chronological order, they split it up into like episode 1, episode 5, episode 9, episode 2, there's so many things going on so inconsistently that at a certain point it's just hard to keep up. When you bring up one of the characters of the past in a season 2 episode from season 1, a lot of your audience is gonna forget, wait, who is this guy? What did he do? It's not a very good dynamic, and I've always hated when shows did this. I understand that there is shows that exist that like mix up little subplots, but shows like that don't have a set storyline to go off of. For example, SpongeBob. Each episode is a different theme. Everything resets back to the way it was because the antics in that one episode were specifically done for that episode. The entire world is set up in a single episode, so that way when the next episode happens, it seems like an entirely different world. However, Helluva Boss is set in a world that is supposed to be consistent with a story. Same with Hazbin Hotel. And this is where I'm going to start talking about Hazbin Hotel. Hazbin Hotel has the exact same problem where so much, an ungodly amount of stuff happens in season 1. The first 8 episodes of season 1, almost everything gets resolved. We have a war with angels. We have the Hazbin Hotel being rebuilt. We have all the residents finally staying in the Hazbin Hotel and supporting Charlie. We have almost every possible character introduced and set up with a conflict, barely any of which are answered. We still don't have confirmation on what the hell happened with Lilith and Lucifer. We still don't know where Alistair went for 7 years. We still don't know who owns Alistair's soul, given that Huss basically said big talk from someone who is also held down by a chain or leash or something like that, whatever he said. Now, the consensus is that it's Lilith, but there is what's really funny about Hazbin Hotel is that simultaneously there is so much going on, yet so little that is explained. Like literally the entire war of the angels, something that literally could have been saved for a series finale, the final episode, is all resolved within season 1. I understand there's a possibility and they potentially will come back because, oh, we got defeated, we're gonna come back. But literally one of the main antagonists of the entire series is already dead. It's literally Adam is dead. Adam was set up as the main antagonist who's going to be this big bad boss that they're always going to have to deal with. And in season 1, he's already dead. I seriously, I understand a season 2 and a season 3 is coming, but I really don't understand how they're going to pick up after that. And I understand if you want to make a few goofy episodes of a show where the character is just, oh, go to fucking Chuck E. Cheese or something, or oh, go bowling for a little while, then that's fine. You need filler episodes to keep your audience engaged. But that's another problem that Hazbin Hotel lacks in, is that there's never enough time to get to know every character through a goofy antic or some character development. A lot of the times the characters are introduced, a conflict is introduced, and boom, it's resolved before we even know anything about why the conflict happened, what the characters went through before the conflict. There's so many issues with the way the characters are portrayed and the story is told around them that at a certain point it just becomes so confusing. It's like, because I guarantee you a lot of what is happening in season 1 is going to get brought up again in season 2 and 3, and even then a lot of those stories are probably not going to be introduced or touched upon for a long time. There is so much set up in season 1 of Hazbin Hotel that they are literally going to need about 7 more seasons to give the chance to explain everything. And if shit goes the way that it did in Helluva Boss, then they're going to explain everything that happened in season 1, but by the time season 6 ends, 20 more questions are going to pop up. So ultimately, it is just a problem with inconsistency, storytelling, character development. A lot of the characters lack a motivation for why they're doing stuff. And I understand a lot of you guys are going to be yelling at me in the comments talking about, well, give it time, it's a show, it needs to be written. And yes, I understand that. But if you are preparing to set up this big of a storyline in your very first season, it almost seemed like this was literally all it was meant to be. It ends with a musical number that makes it feel like the show is actually ending. And I am perfectly fine if there's going to be a couple of filler episodes. Pokemon does it all the time. If you've ever watched a season or a series of Pokemon, you will know that they are big on filler episodes. They do a lot of episodes where the characters literally spend an entire episode trying to figure out a recipe to soup or trying to figure out how to dance. There's literally entire filler episodes, and those are fine, but you have to be able to do them in moderation. You cannot have an entire season dedicated to filler episodes, and that's not me assuming that this is gonna happen. This is just me giving my personal opinions and takes on how it should go, whether or not there's gonna be a conclusion to everything that happened in season 1. And I know this is going to be kind of nitpicky, but a lot of people also complain about it. There is a recurring meme and joke on the internet about this. But the cussing.
Shit fucking hell!
Fucking goddamn fuck bitch. Asshole. Shit.
Sex
Shit.
crack or the cock.
Fucking hell, cunt!
Fucker pissed. Fuck shit. Shit. Pussy.
The cussing is too much. Cussing is only good if it's done in moderation. When the characters make a sex joke and cuss every other sentence, it becomes overplayed, overused, and overdone. Almost every line out of every single one of these characters' mouths is a cuss word. It literally is. I could probably rewatch the entirety of Hazbin Hotel Helluva Boss, and out of almost every single line, I guarantee you, every other one will have a cuss word in it. Out of maybe 1,000 words, there's probably 700 cuss words. Well, okay, maybe that's a little bit much. But cussing can only be funny for so long. It's like Cards Against Humanity. It's funny until the shock of hearing sucking a clown boner becomes like, okay, haha. Pick something else, please.
And he's got the biggest cock, you know? Like, massive. I mean, imagine, like, the biggest, just a giant, huge, like a kaiju, but it's a cock, you know what I mean? Like a big monster, it's big, it's huge.
Yeah.
The cussing and the sex jokes, again, they're funny to an extent, but when you overuse them and have a character make one every single sentence, then it becomes a little much, and you're like, okay, are we gonna get over that? Like, can we please move on to an actual plot? Can we please move on to an actual character development? Can we please explain something that we just saw without someone dropping an F-bomb or a sex joke? Please, just explain it. Like the moment where Husk and Angel sit down and have that deep, real talk. That is probably one of the greatest moments I've seen in any of these shows. That was one of the more real, deep, in-depth moments where I felt like they were actual characters. Husk, and you all can come at me all you want for this, but this is my personal opinion, okay? People seem to confuse opinions with facts, but I'm not a big fan of Husker Dust. I know, there it is, I said it. I'm not a big fan of Husker Dust, and I'm gonna stand by that to the day I die. If Husk wasn't the more responsible adult figure, it would make a little more sense, but because Husk comes off as like this grumpy old uncle who only wants to give you drunk life advice, I just don't feel that Husker Dusk would be that good of a shit. I personally feel like Husk appearing more as like a father figure or uncle or a supportive friend to Angel is better than them falling in love. And maybe it's just me, but I don't get any romance vibes from them. I literally don't. I cannot see these two ever forming a romantic relationship. It doesn't fit with the series, given, again, that Husk comes off as more of the responsible uncle, as he literally saved Angel from being drugged. After literally going through the entire episode, basically wanting nothing to do with Angel, seeing him almost drugged set off his fatherly protective instincts, and he saves his life. He literally saves his life. After Angel says, oh, this happens to me all the time, and he's like, you let that shit happen to you? That's literally something that a father or an uncle would tell their estranged relative who has basically become lost in life. That's what I see from that. I know so many people want Husker Dust to happen, but I guess I'm just a rare breed, and I personally don't see that happening. And I can't see that happening simply because Husk comes off as more of a responsible uncle as opposed to a love interest. And speaking of people and them wanting ships to happen, this is on no fault of the show whatsoever. But I'm going to get to my final point of ultimately what ruins this show for me. And that, unfortunately, is the fandom. If there is one thing that will kill a show, movie, video game, series, whatever, it's the fans. The crazily obsessed, weird, disturbing fans that sometimes go way too far in their obsession with it. Now, listen, I have no room to talk, okay? I understand. You guys see the body pillow. I get it, okay? But I have the common decency to know that carrying that shit around in public will make me look like I belong in a fucking asylum, okay? I'm not one to be carrying around shit like that in public. The most I do is wear t-shirts. And the only reason I wear these t-shirts in public is because, one, I spent money on them. I'm not just going to have them sitting in my drawer. But two, if someone recognizes the shirt, they'll stop and be like, hey, Helluva Boss, and we can stop and have a conversation. I'm an extrovert. I love conversation. So if someone likes Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel as much as I do, and they see my Verosika shirt, we can stop and have a quick conversation about it. Or if I'm in line at a theme park, we can talk about it for a while, which I absolutely love. See, I'm not like a lot of you youngsters out there who likes to sit in his room and be a social outcast. I like conversation. I like getting to know people. I don't like using self-serve kiosks at fast food restaurants. Anyway, it went a little bit off topic there. But ultimately, it's just sometimes the fandom. Now, before more people come and attack me saying that I'm attacking the fandom, I am not attacking the fandom. I am pointing out the side of the fandom that is full of creeps and weirdos. And unfortunately, that side of the fandom overshadows the good side of the fandom, as with everything, because people only seem to focus on negativity. And that is my problem with the fandom of Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel. All the shitty, awful people overshadow the actually good, wholesome side of the fandom. I have seen both firsthand. I go to conventions. I cosplay a little bit. I'm not a professional cosplayer, but I like to cosplay when I go to an anime convention like this. And I've seen both the good and the bad side of the fandom. I've met some really cool cosplayers. I've had a few of them in my videos. I've taken pictures with a few of them. But on the other hand, I've seen some, let's just say, not very good people of this fandom. I've seen the shitty side of this fandom, and let's just to say that the shitty side overshadows the good side would be a gross understatement.
In episode 1, when you had to record the voice lines for the sex scene, for the sex tape, what?
As long as we can all agree that the shitty side of the fandom needs to go, we can stay in our own little world, loving this show all we want. Is this show the greatest show to ever be made on television? Not by a long shot. I wouldn't even put this show in my top 10 favorite shows. However, it's the way that people praise this show that I personally seem to have a problem with, because people act like this show is the greatest thing that has ever been conceived. There's literally, I saw a TikTok video the other day where this guy was praising the show as if it was the greatest thing to ever be made since Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Hazbin Hotel is probably one of the best American-made cartoons that we have seen since Avatar: The Last Airbender.
What?
To compare Hazbin Hotel to Avatar: The Last Airbender? Are you for real, bro? Have you even seen Regular Show? Have you even seen Smiling Friends? Have you seen The Amazing World of Gumball? Have you seen Steven Universe? To say that this show is better than any of those, you have to be brainwashed in a certain way, shape, or form. And those are the fans that make the fandom look bad, because we act like this show is God's greatest gift to humanity. This show is easily the Raising Cane's of animation. It's not good, but it's there for you when you need it. That's how I like to describe it. Raising Cane's is only good after I've gotten off my 12-hour shift at work and I need a quick late-night munchie meal because it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I want to go home. Just like with Hazbin Hotel. It's good only when it needs to be. It's good when you need comfort characters, when you want to watch these characters get into goofy antics, but as story and development, and it just falls short on so many things, and that's where I personally have a problem with both of these shows. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this show in the comments. Do you like Hazbin Hotel? Do you hate Hazbin Hotel? Do you like Helluva Boss? Do you hate Helluva Boss? What do you guys think of the creators? Now again, this is no hate towards Vivian, the creators, the team. They're all amazing. They do amazing work. It's so difficult. I'm not even going to criticize the animation one bit. I don't do animation. So I have no right to criticize things that I am not experienced in. However, where I am experienced in things such as voice acting, storytelling, and characters, that's where I feel like I can personally step in and give my 2 cents. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you not? You can dislike and like the video. Personally, I don't care. I've already showed you guys my will to live. It's currently right there on the floor in many different pieces. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. And if you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Again, I still love Hazbin Hotel. I love Helluva Boss. It's a good show. It's not a great show. It's not a phenomenal show, but it's good enough. It's good enough for people to enjoy when they enjoy it. So hopefully y'all enjoyed, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. PokeTom is out. Stay awesome, guys.